currently BNP Paribas Fortis, Belgium, which is the retailer bank, and I'm working as a cybersecurity expert over there. And you can see my different experience. So I worked in banking, telecom, pharma, cybersecurity. So my whole experience is around cybersecurity. And before my industrial experience, you can see teaching experience. So I was professor for 4.5 years. I work with MIT Pune, DY Patil, and yeah. So as you see, I was professor and then I entered in industry now 11 plus. So total number of years of experience 16 plus. So yeah, that experience might help you guys. So everyone talking about cybersecurity, and today I'm focused out trying to understand what is your understanding about cybersecurity, whether you are responsible for cybersecurity or not, what we have to do as a best practice and whatnot. So when you talk about cybersecurity, I always start with the cyber hygiene, because everyone, in this particular, world, we are using any digital device, and we have to understand, cybersecurity start with ourselves. And when you talk about basic, terminologies, nowadays people are using, those are cyber hygiene and digital safety. So what is cyber hygiene? So whenever I say cyber hygiene, that means you are keeping your device, accounts, and data safe from your good habits, like you're using strong password, you're not using same password across different accounts, whatnot. And digital safety basically is protecting yourself, from the online threats, online frauds, and whatnot. And those are the two things, nowadays people are talking more and more. But when you talk about cybersecurity main principles, and cybersecurity is a part of the big umbrella, which is information security. Information security that secures everything. Data in REST, data stored in database and in relational database, non-relational database, whatnot, in physical format. So information security is basically about everything. It's a big domain. And cybersecurity is a subset of that, which is basically we are looking for security of data, which is in transit, right? So when I say in transit, consider Mahesh is working on some portal, and suddenly the portal is unavailable. So that means, somebody, maybe that server goes down, or maybe someone hacked that website or whatnot. So the person who is responsible to maintain that particular site maybe get information that site is down and he will work, right? So in cybersecurity, we are going to learn how we are providing security for the real-time data. Near real-time, I cannot say we are going to provide security real-time, exact, no, near real-time. And for that one, we have to do automation, and we have to write some rules and whatnot. So 3 principles, which is CIA tried, very important in cybersecurity, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. When you talk about confidentiality, we are basically talking about how we can secure our credentials, how we can secure our important data. We can use encryption, whatnot. So confidentiality we can achieve using different ways, like encryption. We can protect our devices using some applications and whatnot. Integrity. When you talk about integrity, we are transferring data from A party to B party. Data should go in the same format and same content. That's the integrity. So if I send mail to Pratham, the mail should go in the same format, same content. It should not be intercepted by anybody. So integrity should be maintained. And availability, the application, if you're providing services to the customer, your application, your services should be available 24/7. Minimal downtime as much as possible to make good business and to keep your reputation. So let's talk about how confidentiality got breached. Sometimes if you have your email address, guys, I just keep my email address, you can check, it's already a part of one data breach. So when you go through to this, how I've been even prone, you can put your email address, and then this particular, forum will give you whether your email utilized by you for some portal, and that portal is a part of data breach. So consider you are using Facebook, Instagram, whatnot, and you are using some email address XYZ. And what happened? That site got, site database got breached, and your email address, maybe password is in encrypted format, but hacker can decrypt it. So hacker got access to the database. So your email address got basically, disclosed, and that attacker can use that, email address to gain your access. So confidentiality, start with your how you are protecting your identity, how you are protecting your data, and whatnot. So can somebody mute? Perfect, no problem. Okay, so it happened with so let me again. So
तुला काय म्हणलं 2 वाजता मग चहा कशाला असं बोललं नाही मी आता ते ना कुठे आलं ते कडे
So in confidentiality, it's not about only your, sometimes, confidentiality can be disclosed because you are using services of other company. So guys, don't be ashamed, if you are part of data breach, because it happen. Because if they are not protecting their assets very well, you are part of data breach. So what you have to do is, if you are part of data breach, you have to change your password. No need to create new account, but change your password, or maybe stop using that platform if you are using, so those kind of measures you can take. So that's one example, how confidential can breach, if you are using some vendor and that vendor got data breach, or if you are storing your data and that data got leaked, whatnot. Another principle is integrity. When integrity is spoiled, I mentioned integrity means keep the data intact, right? So, but if there is a man-in-the-middle attack takes place, that means one intruder is sitting between A and B party communication, and he is intercepting the communication. So he can do what? He can intercept communication from terminal user and from the server, and basically he's trying to sniff the communication. That's the first thing. You need to understand what's going between A and B. So after understanding the communication between A and B, he will try to communicate with A and B, like A will think like he is communicating with B, and B will think like he is communicating with A. But both are communicating with only single person, which is intruder or hacker. And that's I would say man-in-the-middle attack. Okay, I took this image from the internet, guys, so nothing to hide from anything. Then third principle, what I mentioned is availability. So as you know, consider if site, consider Flipkart or Amazon is providing, services to you, and you are basically purchasing some mobile phones during Diwali festival, and the site become unavailable. So availability is very important from company perspective to keep their reputation, to make their business, good. Because if the site is unavailable, people will move from Flipkart to Amazon or Amazon to Flipkart, vice versa, right? So it depends, so we have to think about how our service should be available to customer most of the time. I would say, downtime should be there, but downtime maybe, out of business hours, or maybe, when people are sleeping, they will plan their maintenance of the server, so that's why we always say availability is always 99.9999. There is a 0.0001% downtime, because without that we cannot maintain servers. So availability is also important. Then when you talk about defense, I will not go in this slides because I will try to utilize at least few minutes, to interact with the student, and I will ask then Pratik at that time stop recording so we can interact, in the open forum. But when you talk about the cybersecurity, guys, we have different layers, and that is this architecture is called as onion architecture, or we can say defense in depth strategy. So if you read about, outer layer, policies, procedures, and awareness, and if you go innermost, like, inside one layer by layer, like onion, the innermost layer is data. And as a cybersecurity expert, we are responsible for a particular thing. But if you talk about the whole picture, where you want to secure your applications, where you want to secure your organization, every layer play a vital role. So if you are having problem with any of this layer, basically that's a particular vulnerability or threat for your organization. So when you talk about cybersecurity, cybersecurity is basically start with every person, starting from the security, person present on gate, CCTV cameras and whatnot. I don't know whether you heard that incident, guys. There is one, the incident happened. The CCTV footage of one hospital, gynec. So the CCTV footage, CCTV hacked by the hacker. Unethical hacker, I would say, not a hacker. It's an unethical hacker. So he got the access to the CCTV, the network. He basically identified the password is very simple, and he hacked that password. He start the cameras. He record the some footage from the gynec. The gynec. Mostly the ladies are visiting, and that those videos leaked on the public media. So that's a unethical way of doing things. But believe me, if that CCTV maintainer who is doing that CCTV maintenance, if he put the strong password for the admin, the portal, then it's a difficult, right, to attacker. So because of the low security, of the CCTV, that particular hospital, leaked that data, and now they are saying, oh, we are part of, we got hacked, but no, but the user who, the video got leaked and everything, we cannot recover these kind of things, guys. So nowadays, cybersecurity is very important, not in terms of, only in IT industry, pharmaceutical industry. You can take any name, any industry. We required some sort of security, physical security or whatnot. If you are using IT devices, OT devices, IoT devices, you have to think about the security. Okay. So I hope you understand, this. Maybe I a little bit bypassed, from this topic, but it's very important. You have to understand how you are accountable and responsible if you are managing cybersecurity, guys. So every layer. So let's start. I will talk one liner for every layer. So because of lack of time, but you can see here we are starting with the policies, procedures, and awareness. That's the outermost layer. And normally these policies, procedures are defined by the management people, GRC people, the people who want to run the company. They need to create good policies, procedures. Example of policy. If new employee got hired, we have to collect his identity. We have to create his identity card and everything in upfront. When he visit company first time, somebody from his team, manager or his colleague should escort him from the gate to office, and that's kind of policy. So like procedures. Then we have to first day of employee, we have to provide him temporary access card, a temporary access card having limited access, so you can access few floors of the company, like that. So those are the policies you have to put, because human is the weakest link, and that's why we have to maintain procedures and policies and everything, and we have to follow as a as an employee of that company. Then physical security. When you talk about physical security, we are talking about CCTV cameras, access controls, like we are having biometrics or maybe whatnot. So we have to do that access control. If companies employees are keeping laptop in in companies, we have to provide some lockers to them, locks and whatnot. So we have to protect physical, because if physical security is not enough, maybe there is something can be happen. Maybe your servers got stolen. It's a physical security threat, right? Then perimeter security. That's a third layer. So perimeter security. When you talk about perimeter, I'm talking about firewall, IDS, IPS. So for that, we have to define good policies at firewall level, how the communication going from inward to outward, outward to inwards, like that. And to do the proper, the security, I always recommend do the proper segmentation, VLAN segmentation. So even if one department got hacked, that attacker cannot, spread that malware to the another, segment, because we segmented the VLAN. So that infection cannot move from one segment to another segment, or one VLAN to another VLAN. If you want practical demo of VLAN, maybe one day we will meet and I will show you how the different VLANs should be created, in the one network. Internal network. When you talk about perimeter, it's outside boundaries of the network. Internal network is basically switches, routers, and those are they using the best practices? Are they configure with the good, filters, and whether we hardening them, whatnot. So we have to check that internal. So it's a part of network security, but it's important, because if attacker coming from the outside because of the network security problem, then it's a problem for the host security also. Then host security. So host, when I say host, your laptop, your desktop, your server, your virtualized environments, those are the host. And the host is right now everybody has a laptop. So that's your responsibility also to keep your laptop secure one. If your laptop got stolen, then you have to report to the company, right? So that comes under policies and procedures. That's a layer number 1. Okay, if your laptop got stolen, you have to inform company. That's the policies and procedures, right? So every layer is important. And then application security. So suppose you are working with HDFC Bank, and HDFC Bank has their portal, and we are using that portal for what? Transaction purpose, right? So, and that application is public facing. So every user is using that one. Consider that application, we want to secure one. So we need to understand how that application, where that application is running, and how we can secure them. I have a specific example in next slides. And the innermost security is a data security. So data is everything. So data is your user information, your account information, your transaction information, whatnot, beneficiary information. So that's the data. So inside the core is a data, but all these layers are important to maintain your security of your data. Okay. Let's talk about, I will not talk about every layer. Let's go to the next example. And here I need some interaction. So consider, guys, one example to understand how we are thinking about the particular application. So consider one application XYZ running on IIS or Tomcat. And this IIS running or Tomcat running on host operating system, which is Windows. Just consider this is a Windows symbol for Windows. So as a cybersecurity expert, what do you think? If we deployed this application as an attacker, where you can, how do you think, how we can hack this one? Consider you are attacker and you want to attack on this particular XYZ application. Application written in very good format. So application code is written very well, tested very well. Application developers is knowledgeable. So as an attacker, I have different gates to attack on this one. When I say gates, Pratham, the slides are visible. I just minimize this one. Slides are visible very well. Okay, so XYZ application is secure one, but consider, guys, application running on Windows, and that Windows is vulnerable. You're not upgraded your patches very well, and that because of that patch, your Windows operating system got some ping, some blue screen, something error or something, or some attack takes place because of the vulnerability in that Windows operating system. Can you say your application is secure now? No, because underlying operating system got hacked. Your XYZ application no more secure at all. Why? Because host got compromised. I hope you understand this one. Okay. Next thing. Now your host operating system is very secure, updated, patched very well, maintained very well, hardening performed by Windows admin team very well. But what happened if IIS or Tomcat, which software is running, which is vulnerable? And because of that vulnerability in Tomcat, you can do privilege escalation. So now guys see, host operating system is secure, but Tomcat is vulnerable because of some bug in their code. And because of that, we did privilege escalation. And then we can do anything. We can destroy this host, we can destroy this app, whatnot. So your host is also important, host security is also important. Your application security is also important. When I say application security, your XYZ app should tested by testers very well. Coder should follow the good coding practice, whatnot. And your Tomcat, where application is deployed, because application is not running like without application server. So your application is running on application server, which is Tomcat or IIS or whatnot. And that application server should be secure one. They should not use outdated libraries. Pratik, you have some doubts? Yeah, Pratik? Pratik, I think raise hand.
Sir, I feel in this scenario, like the Tomcat server has already like some of the vulnerabilities. We have like it's public, like it got some CVEs. Am I right?
Correct. Yes. And those CVEs, because of those, Pratik, you are rightly mentioned, and those CVEs mentioned, but do you know, whenever any company publish CVs, it's basically before publishing the CVs, they are basically providing patches to the vendors. So consider I am the vendor of Tomcat. So I am the consumer of the Tomcat. So Tomcat company will contact me and they will provide me the patches first, and they will disclose everything. But imagine my team is busy with some other things, and they're not patches, maintain that patch, or that they not fix that CVE, because every CVE has some remediation, right? Workaround. Pratik, you are talking? No. Yeah, okay. So that CVE can be exploited. So that's why, we have to patch our operating system. We have to keep our application server, which is Tomcat, up to date. Application running, which is XYZ, also tested regularly. Okay. Apart from, so I explained you 3 ways of hacking. Host operating system can be, attacker can target host operating system, CVs or Tomcat or IIS, whatever, and application. If application is publicly exposed, you can do SQL injection attack, code injection, whatnot. Now, there is another thing which is not visible in this diagram, which is I created on ChatGPT, guys. I provided this input to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT provided this image. But if you talk about, there is one thing we cannot see in here is libraries. So consider application code is using JavaScript or JSP and whatnot, and Java, Java is using classes, and classes is basically wrapped in the jar files, JS file, whatnot, no. So those jar files and everything, as a libraries we are using. Consider one of the library used by this coder got infected. Like in past, there is a one vulnerability found in log4j. And because of that single library vulnerability, your application might be in trouble. So now I explain you the different, threats, how it can be, the security can be breached and whatnot. But now, what are the different teams are involved? And that's the important thing, you have to understand how different teams involved in the single application. You're running just application, but how many different teams involved in this one? And I'm talking about, again, same architecture, which is this architecture. I am referring this one. So if I appended A, that is application security. If I append A, D, D means data security. Then if I added H, that's the host security. Like that, okay? So you can interpret, guys, whenever you get slides, you can interpret, okay? So first thing, A. A is what? A is a application security, so app security. So application security is important. So when I say application security, developer is responsible, tester is important. So you can see these are the jobs, So every person is responsible, developer, tester, and app security. So when I say app security, you are basically responsible for the approval of the RPMs, then whatever the libraries are there and whatnot. So you are responsible for those one. Infra team, D for data security. So consider application is providing. So I'm again taking example of HDFC. You are using HDFC application, and HDFC application you are using for transaction purpose. So I'm transferring money to Y person, and whenever I transfer money, there is a log, right? If there is a rollback mechanism. If transaction committed successfully, perfect. If not, then money will come back to my account only, right? That's the principle of a database, right? So if you talk about data security, so every transaction is generating one log. Whenever you are performing any transaction with HDFC portal, there is a log generated. If you add beneficiary, or if you are sending money or whatnot, and those logs stored locally. But locally, I will not recommend. Why? Because locally, if your host got compromised, logs will maybe can be deleted by that attacker. So logs stored locally, temporary basis, but always logs pushed to log collector or centralized server. The LC is log collector or centralized collector. So the team responsible is infrastructure team. Okay, where they are providing you storage servers where you are pushing your logs. Okay, next, as you're running your application on Tomcat or IIS, application owner also responsible. So application owner make sure that Tomcat is up to date. If there is a CVEs, he has to fix as early as possible. So fixing the vulnerability in application, which is Tomcat, is application owner responsibility. Next, host is Windows. So if there is a CVE, if there is some patch, the owner is Windows security team, and the server owner will communicate with the Windows team, and they have to fix this and patch this as early as possible. Next, network. When you talk about internal and peripheral network, okay, internal and peripheral network. So this is basically comes under two parts, because threats can be internal or threats can be from the outside world. When you talk about internal threats, that means disgruntled employee. The person who is employee of your company, he is performing attack. He is performing some malicious behavior, or maybe internal employee got compromised because of his some malicious download, and he got compromised, but he don't know. He's unaware about. He got hacked. So because of that, he is doing some unethical behavior. Because attacker is basically using C2, to perform some execution on his laptop for lateral movement. And that's why this internal, the internal means UBA, user behavior analytics. So we have to monitor the user behavior, which is our employee. And then external, basically it's coming from the outside. So we are going to watch traffic for firewall, proxy. Proxy is basically, whenever we are sending data outside world, whenever we are working in company, we are maybe suppose using LinkedIn or Facebook or whatnot, every communication captured in proxy. So I can ask a report to my cybersecurity team, can you give me the data who is using Facebook during business hours, and please provide me the list of the usernames. So if we want that report, we are going to utilize data source, which is proxy. Okay, that is outbound communication we can easily get from the proxy. Next, then again P for what? P for the perimeter security. Okay, so if you got a P for perimeter security, other technology. So consider your application. So HDFC application is getting hit by from the outside, right? So if your application is hit from the outside, you need WAF, which is basically every request coming from the outside should be go through the WAF, web application firewall. So if you don't know WAF, so WAF is basically monitoring all incoming requests towards your application. Okay, in simple terms, WAF is a device who is taking a request from the outside world towards your application, and that WAF will decide whether that request is legitimate, whether request is malformed and whatnot, and WAF will take action. So WAF is basically like a firewall but it's the application firewall. So WAF is indicate web application firewall. Okay, so then next API gateways. Consider your web application XYZ or HDFC application using APIs. Then maybe after the request going through the WAF, you are having API gateways, and again you are having authentication servers. So WAF will authenticate first. Unauthenticated user communication WAF will not pass towards API gateways. So auth servers. An auth server example, we can use any servers like ISAM and whatnot, Cisco ISE and whatnot. So we can use different authentication service mechanisms. PH for physical security, I think I already mentioned. PPA is policies, data leak prevention or protection. So we are going to utilize some policies. So that comes under DLP. So you can see the single scenario, how many different departments are involved. And why I'm explaining this one, as a student, sometimes we are confused, where to go. I know how to do the hacking. I know how to do the pen testing. I know how to do the web pen testing, or I know how to do the OS test, the penetration testing, right? Maybe you are specialist in Windows pen testing, but security jobs are a little bit, beyond that also. After pen testing, you can go in the vulnerability management team and whatnot. And that, I think, my goal. I will explain you next one. So consider all I think I disconnected for, can you just, inform me? Can you see my screen, Pratham?
Yes,
I think I
it's
disconnected
visible.
for, okay, I think I disconnected for a few seconds because of my,
Yeah, sir.
yeah, okay, thanks. Thanks for understanding. Okay, so every action. So if you talk about the data sources, because data sources, and definitely I will give you guys time to question and answer. I will finish the slides first, So whenever you talk about the actions, what kind of actions you are doing, it depends on your role. If you are a Windows admin, then you are basically, creating, Active Directory user accounts, you are managing information, you are deploying servers, you are updating servers, whatnot. If you are, IAM team, you are provisioning the user, you are giving more accesses to the user, whatnot. So it depends on the role, your job, the response. But main thing, we have to define what is suspected behavior and what is the legitimate behavior. And cyber security, for legitimate behavior, we little bit just watch and ignore. But for suspected behavior, we cannot catch from our human eyes. We have to write some rules, right? So one day, one student asked me in one of my tech talk, sir, there is a one, the incident takes place, and how we can investigate that one? How I can respond? I ask him gently. So okay. So I ask him a couple of questions. Okay, he's a student, so he don't know the answer, but his thought process, I like it. So I ask him, okay, if attack is takes place, okay, and the attack takes place. So attack takes place on Windows operating system. My first question I ask him, how many Windows system present in your company? That's the first question. That to understand what is the impact of the attack. So he mentioned, oh, sir, 1,000. So impact is 1,000. So this impact will for the 1,000 system might be. Okay, so that's one thing. Then next question is, what kind of attack is this? So he mentioned, oh, sir, I got some locky file on one Windows host. Okay, so that's a ransomware. So what is your first step you did? He mentioned, I isolated the system. I say perfect, because whenever you found some ransomware on particular system, whether it's a real ransomware, whether it's just like a, the false positive, we don't care. We just isolate that system. Why? Otherwise, that single system will infect other systems. Okay, so that's the first step he did. So after asking more and more questions, he isolated system and everything. Then I asked him next question: are you collecting logs from that Windows systems towards centralized location? And the answer is no. We are not collecting logs. If you are not collecting logs at centralized place, how you able to identify the attacks? He identify attack because he is searching, in the server, like in the host systems or visual systems. That's why he identifies something, while searching. But to understand, and that's my next slide, to get the attack vectors, to get the attacker behavior in initial phase, recurrence phase, information gathering phase, you have to collect logs. From what kind of sources? You have to collect logs from mobile devices, Windows operating system, Linux operating system, if you're having Mac OS, if router, switches, firewall, proxies, IDS, IPS, whatnot, web application firewall, CASBs. If you are having cloud environment, collect logs from there. So after collecting all logs, what next? You are collecting all logs. You have to make decision. I collected these many logs, and now I need to understand with the SMEs, because I am not expert of every technology. I have to understand from experts what is unethical behavior or suspicious behavior and what is right behavior. Who can do what and who cannot do what. I need to understand role segregation. I need to understand boundaries of the users. If you are a normal user, you cannot delete Active Directory account. If you're admin of Active Directory, you can delete, but you need reason to delete that one. Even if you're admin, you cannot do anything what you want, right? So this kind of things, you are tracking, adding user, deleting user, because normally attacker when attacks the company, he will create the backdoor. The backdoor is nothing but he will create account, or he will create some process, and which is basically in-house people act wisely. And apart from that, SOC is also responsible to identify threats from the outside world. Because whenever you talk about SOC, people are saying, oh, we are protecting from the outside threats. No, we are not protecting from only outside. We are protecting from internal threats as well as external threats. Okay. Then what is the best job for students? I will recommend, where you can start easily and most job available in the market, because that's the entry point for students, right? I will recommend from my experience, the first job for any researcher who want to enter in cyber, SOC or Security Operations Center, is a security analyst or SOC L1 analyst. And for that job role or SOC L1 analyst, you required few things: Linux, network basics, database, few understanding of database. That's it. And if you know this Linux, networking, and database, at least you can start one. And then I will recommend, when you know these three things, let's focus on the log analysis. How log look like? Windows operating system, go in the logs, check the how log look like, how proxy log look like, how firewall log look like. And if you want that, guys, logs, please, I think I'm part of your group. Then mention on the group. I will provide you some logs, sample logs available in terms. I think 26 gig logs are there available on public websites. Okay, you can download it, you can read the logs to understand how log look like. Okay, so this is different. I think job functions. You can maybe if you want specific on a explanation on particular job, let me know. Maybe I will make available myself again, because lack of time I cannot go in detail. But if you want specific for each job, maybe I will we'll talk. But yeah, next slides I will not explain. If you want to explore more, Thunder Cipher platform, we are having there 37 labs. You can practice your offensive security, guys. Go for it. And I already, I think, shared my YouTube links or some videos. So if you want some, and this is good for me, you can put some negative comments, positive comments, so I can improve. So yeah, so